Hey, and welcome back to the course. We are going to be going over how to monitor your performance when it comes to AI automation and essentially calculate your costs for specific Zapier runs, for specific OpenAI prompts. And so overall, going to give you a really good resource so you can go ahead and enter your own Zaps into this Excel sheet and figure out your own cost of, running said Zap. So moving on from here, what you'll notice is in this tutorial, we'll be going over specifically an Excel sheet that allows you to input the values of your specific Zaps. So at scale, if you're going to run 50 times, 100 times, how much it would cost you and better understand essentially how you're allocating your money when it comes to AI automation. So let's go ahead and jump over to Zapier. So the Zap we're going to be looking at today is going to be the AI-powered automated Google form entry response. We made this in an earlier lesson, and I'm going to go ahead and use this as the example of, let's say, for example, I wanted to know, if I had 100 responses, how much would that cost me, money-wise to have this fully AI automated? So let's go ahead and jump over to the Excel sheet that can be found in the video description. So as you see above me, we have the Excel sheet that can be found in the video description. Go ahead and copy it over to your own Google Drive and use it yourself. But for today's example, we're going to go ahead and use the flow that I showed before. So I'm going to give the example flow. We're going to title it, for my reference, form entry response, and then the objective, just so I know for, if I keep adding more flows here, to receive a customer inquiry. And then we're going to go ahead and figure out how many Zaps this requires and how many tokens, or in this context, what tokens means is every time you send a prompt for ChatGPT to execute, it will use a certain amount of tokens. This could range between 100, 500, and each one of those tokens are derived of value. So in this context, 1,000 tokens is 2 cents. And then in the context of being on a plan, for a month worth of Zapier, it's $58.50 to do 1,500 tasks, which I'll explain right now. So let's go ahead and jump over to Zapier. So the example we're going to be using today is going to be a starter plan for the monthly, $58.50 for around 1,500 tasks. Now that comes out to around 4 cents per Zap. Now let's just, for example, let's say you are going to be on the $29.99 for 750. This is all you would have to do. Let's go ahead and jump over to the Excel. So now that we're in the Excel, let's say you had that plan, we would come over here and we would just type in $29.99. And then for the task, we'll put 750. And as you see, we're going to have a rounded out to be 4 cents per Zap. And we'll use that in this context. So that's going to be 4 cents per Zap. And essentially, every time we run 1,000 tokens, it's going to be 2 cents. So it's going to make a lot more sense once we do an example. So let's go ahead and execute and trigger that flow for the form so we can go ahead and see how to calculate this. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out real quick again. So I'm just going to put James, 1, 2, 3, 4, Spear Street. Okay. And then we're going to put, james@gmail.com. And then we're going to put weekly and fertilization and then 1,000. So I'm going to hit submit. So now that that has been submitted, we're going to go ahead and come back over to the Zapier. So let's go ahead and find that specific Zap. Courses, Zaps. And what you're going to do is you're going to find your Zap that you wanted to test. Obviously, it needs to have been triggered. So in this context, the trigger for this Zap that we created together was just an entry form. Someone filling out the form, and in that context, it'd be someone reaching out to the lawnmower agency to essentially get a quote. So what you want to do over here is just some preferences or some references real quick. Versions is going to be this thing right here. So every time you add to this, save and publish a new one, you're going to have another version, and you can kind of go back in versions if you feel like you messed up too much and you kind of want to come back to the original. Right now, this is just V1 because I've only done it one time in the sense of like I've made no changes to the Zap. But let's go ahead and come over here to history. So now when you're in history, what you'll see here, right down there, is going to be all the different times this flow has been run. And in the context of what we just did, this is going to be ours right here. It will give you the dates, the time. So go ahead and click that. And from that, we go ahead and see a lot of nice information here. And let's go ahead and grab the first piece of information for this Excel sheet. So we're going to go to data out. Let's go to data out for these OpenAIs. And as you see, we have the expenditure for this prompt was 89 tokens. And then the expenditure for this prompt, the total tokens was 185. So let's go and do some quick math real quick. We're going to do 89 plus 185. Let's jump back over to the Excel. So just for my sake, we're going to do 189 plus 85. So 274. So what you want to do is you want to come up here, and then this is going to be times, because this is how many times you run it, essentially. So we're going to type in 274, because in average, we're going to be spending around 274 tokens every time we run this flow. So now, let's find out how we find how many zaps this flow expenditure. So let's jump back over to Zapier. Now, if we come back to Zapier, what you'll notice is at the very top, you have the amount of zaps that were expended, which would be 3 in this context. So let's go ahead and enter that back into the Excel. Going to come over here, going to hit 3. So great. Now we have officially figured out how much it would cost to run this flow one time. And as you see, it cost around 13 cents to do that entire flow. So to answer our previous question at the beginning of this video, let's see how much it would cost us to run this 100 times, or 100 different entries into the form. And bang, we have our answer. So that would be 300 zaps. That would be around 27,400 tokens, with the grand total of around $12.54. And then it gives you even breakdown of it would cost $12 worth of zaps and then around 55 cents worth of tokens. As I said before, earlier in the tutorials, you can see this AI is very cheap, very affordable for what we're trying to do here. And you get to get your answer, which is $12.54. Now, obviously, input, output, whatever your specific flow is on this Excel sheet, it's going to be a great way to understand scaling-wise how much it would cost you. But in this context, that would mean that 100 people filled out this service form, and it would only cost you $12.54. Look how much time you saved. Look how much labor you saved. Just great. Now, let's get a little bit crazy here, and let's make it so we save even more money, and how we would do that. And that would just be encompassing lowering our bottom line of how much a zap costs. So let's assume we got a higher plan. Let's go to the plans real quick. All right, come to the plans. We're going to come back down here, upgrade plan. Let's assume we jump over here, and obviously you wouldn't want to do this unless you needed it. But if you're running a lot of automations, I mean, this may be within your realm here. So let's assume we paid annually, pay annually. And let's assume we did $39 for 1.5K task. So $39, add a 3, and then add the 1,500, and bang. So now we see very specifically, because we want to have as many decimal points, because you can see we're dealing with fractions of pennies. Every zap's going to cost us basically around 2 cents. That brings our overall acquisition cost for 100 to $8.55, which in other terms is like 25% reduced, 30% reduced cost on the same task, same automation, so on and so forth. So as you see, if you're really scaling and really growing, you can really lessen your bottom line when it comes to AI automation and what you can achieve here. And let's go ahead and jump back to the presentation. As you see, that is how you monitor your performance. I went ahead and put that Excel sheet in the description, so you can go ahead and copy that over to your drive and use that as a nice tool, so you understand scaling wise, for your specific task, how much it would cost, and you get a really good ballpark for your financials of, wow, so originally I was paying someone to do this, but now I can just pay $10 a month in the context of how many times it ran. It's great ways to increase or lower your bottom line and overall increase your performance. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to optimize your performance in the sense of, let's lower the amount of zap usage. Let's lower the amount of prompt tokens that are even used in the flow to begin with. And I'll see you in that lesson.